business meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay for the meeting and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the hearing. The applicant and town board will be sent a copy of tonight's decision. Any other person wishing to receive a copy of the decision can sign the sheet on the table at the front of the room. Those of you wishing immediate knowledge of the outcome of these proceedings may call the county zoning office tomorrow morning. The procedure we will follow for hearing each application is, after each application is read, the applicant, their agent, or representative will have the opportunity to present their application, followed by any questions or comments from the board. Then all correspondence will be read. Then others in favor will have a chance to speak. Anyone objecting will then have a chance to speak. I will then ask for a summary of the board's field observations and any staff comments. Finally, the applicant will be allowed a chance for a brief rebuttal if they wish. Anyone wishing to speak should use the microphone at the front up here, state their name, and direct their comments to the board. I ask that all testimony be kept brief, no more than 5 minutes, and to the point. If you are testifying as a nearby landowner, please tell us where your property is located relative to the subject property. Tonight's hearing will be recorded, and the recordings will become part of the record. Comments that are based on hearsay or secondhand information, as well as slanderous or prejudicial remarks, will be ruled out of order. The board has looked at all the properties, and the record will reflect these observations. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this board has 30 days from the filing of tonight's decision to make an appeal. Such appeals shall be heard by the Waushara County Circuit Court. Information is available from the Clerk of Court's office and qualified legal counsel. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of this 30-day period. I will now introduce the board. To my left, Larry Tim, Mark Schumacher, John Shirk, Dave Williams, and I'm Kevin Fitzgerald. First item we have on the board tonight, and we have 3 variances, and we have also an additional one tonight that was put over, the Groves application, and we will take that up at our business meeting. You will not be a part of the first part tonight, okay? Larry Wise, Wautoma, Wisconsin, has made application for variance in accordance with sections 58-232, sub 6, and 58-826, sub V of the Waushara County Zoning Code to place an 8-foot by 10-foot storage shed coming to within 4 inches of the right-of-way of State Highway 21, 50-foot setback required, and coming to within 6 inches of the westerly side lot line, 7.5 feet setback required, in the RS 20 zone, residential single-family zone, within the shoreland area. Location, a parcel of land known as Lot Number 1 of Certified Survey Map Number 2051, subject to easement, being part of Government Lot Number 2, Section 6, Township 18 North, R11 East, Town of Marion, Silver Lake, West, 7189 West Silver Lake Road. Mr. White, would you like to step to the microphone and tell us a little bit about what you want to do?
Okay, basically I'd like to position the shed where it now sits, so that because I have limited space out front, the distance from the center of the road to the shed is like a 34-foot distance. From that to my house is probably about another 16 feet is all. So I don't have the space there, or the width of the lot is 50 feet. So that's kind of like the only place I can put that shed. Limited size of the lot.
Okay. All right. I got a few questions for you.
Okay.
You showed us one of the stakes when we was there. Do you know when the last survey was done on the property?
It would have been, survey that I had done would have been 3 years ago.
Do you know where the road right-of-way is and the side lot line? Have you talked to the town or the state about this? Town board?
I talked to the town chairman.
You did talk to Mr. Oleko? Okay. And what did he have to say?
said, talk to you guys. No, but he understood, but, yeah.
Okay. Can you maintain the building without trespassing onto the neighbors?
Probably not.
What about stormwater off the roof? Where does that go?
That would go basically 6 inches, and then onto their property. So I'm only like 6 inches off of the lot line. Yeah.
Does the water run toward the lake at all, or is it?
Yes, all towards the lake.
Is the shed on any type of foundation? Okay, just on 4x4s? Did you have to fill or grade there?
No.
Any other improvements planned? The shed does meet the lake setbacks?
Yes.
Any other options? As you said, no?
Not really, no.
Did you think about putting it on the other side of the driveway?
Yes, I did, and it would be, because the lot was, like I said, only 50 feet, it would be basically in front of the front door of the house, so it would be kind of a eyesore, obstacle like that.
And you move the shed toward the home a few feet to get it off the right of way, more toward the lake?
The problem there is that it drops drastically, the pitch towards the lake, and then I would be having to pry that shed up in the back quite a bit to, level it. So from where it is right now, the grade really drops fast.
You moved it back, would it be farther away from the lot line?
No.
Now, when we looked at the certified survey map that Terry has, it appears to show that the further back you get from the road, it flares out.
Widens, yeah.
It widens
Yes.
a little bit.
Yes, it does, yeah.
So if you moved the shed back, it would be farther from the lot line.
Yeah, if I moved it straight back, like you said, it does widen a little bit, so if, the only problem there is I think there's probably between the shed, and there's some trees too that I would probably have to cut down. It does pitch back. I get, it could be done, and it would maybe, make it another foot from the lot line, possibly, if I went back another
3,
8
4
feet or something.
Yeah, well, we measured, it was a little over 8 feet from the house,
From the corner of the house to
Yeah.
the back
from
of
the
the shed.
back of the shed. And we were thinking, well, if you could just move it back another 3, 4 feet, it wouldn't interfere with your house, it wouldn't block your vision, but it might get a little further from the lot line, and then all that, the flagstone and the stuff you have in the front wouldn't be on the right of way, it would be on your land. I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
Okay,
and this is 8 by 10, right?
Yes.
That was under $1,000.
I believe it was like just around $1,000, yeah. The reason I bought it is because I was driving by and it had the same siding that I have on my house. I said, oh, sweet deal, Unfortunately, yeah.
just a couple more. What are the hardships and unique property limitations which would support that? And I think you kind of told us that the small lot is kind of the property limitation. What other hardships?
I guess only the reason that I purchased it was to improve the whole environment for myself and my neighbors, in that I don't have the snow blowers and the lawnmowers and the gas cans and all this stuff sitting outside.
Yeah, you did mention that it was a safety thing with the gas cans when we were
Yeah,
there.
I
You
didn't
didn't want to
feel-
keep the cans in the house.
Right, yeah. I didn't feel comfortable with that.
And you don't have a boathouse down
No,
on the water, which is sometimes where they keep the gas
Yep,
cans, but
exactly.
you don't have that
I don't
down.
have that, no.
This structure is less than 1,000 value and less than 100 square feet, so no permit was needed, correct?
Assume so. Yep.
Larry, you have anything? Mark? John? Dave? Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All correspondence.
We have a letter on this from Tact Investments LLC from Berlin, Wisconsin, dated September 30th. It says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a member and authorized representative of Tact Investments LLC. Tact is the owner of the property assigned tax parcel number and commonly known as W7193W Silver Lake Road, Watoma, Wisconsin. Larry Weiss, the owner of the property located immediately east of and adjacent to Tact's property, requested that Tact provide this letter regarding a storage shed that Larry placed on his property and is located generally in the northwest section of his property. Tact has no objection to the shed or its placement on Mr. Weiss's property. The shed provides no inconvenience to Tact and does not negatively affect Tact's property in any manner. If you have any questions or would like to discuss further, please feel free to contact me directly, and there's a phone number, and that's signed sincerely, Carrie J. McCarthy, Tact Investments LLC member."
And for the record, that's the property that the variance for 4 inches is being applied to. Yep.
Right next door. And that's it for correspondence, and no one registered to speak.
Staff comments.
For the record, the board has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all other pertinent data for this and all the other applications that they'll be considering tonight. They have also visited all the properties and viewed the proposals and where they would be placed on site. I'd like to take this time to explain a little bit about variances. Variances ask for a relaxation of a dimensional standard in the code. So it's really asking to relax a setback. The decision to grant a variance must be backed by substantive reasons, which include that the code is unnecessarily burdensome and the landowner is not able to enact a permitted use without a relaxation of the dimensional standard. Second, that there are unique limitations on the property that prevent the landowner from meeting the required dimensional standard. And 3, if the variance is granted, no harm will be done to the public interest or the zoning code. It is the applicant's responsibility to present their case and provide the burden of proof as to why the variance should be granted. The personal situation of the applicant, financial hardship, convenience, a growing family, nearby violations, none of these can be considered as valid reasons to grant a variance. When the board visited the property, they noted that the current dwelling does not meet any of the applicable setbacks. They also noted that this request is being made after the fact, that the shed could be moved a few feet further back from the right-of-way, and if kept in line with the home, it would end up further off the side lot line as a result, and that the rocks placed as a step at the entrance to the shed are currently in the right-of-way. That's it for my comments.
No rebuttal. Mr. Weiss left.
Yep, I guess so.
So we'll go to number 2. Terrence and Catherine Webb, Madison, Wisconsin, have made application for a variance in accordance with sections 58-235 sub 5, 58-542 sub C sub 2, and 58-823 sub C sub 1 of the Washera County Zoning Code to construct an approximate 28 by 30 one-story addition on a full basement coming to within 6 foot of the northwesterly side lot, 15-foot setback required, exceeding maintenance and repair of a non-conforming structure, non-conforming due to side lot setback on a non-conforming lot, non-conforming due to lot width, in the RS-20 residential single-family zone within the shoreland area. Location, a parcel of land known as the westerly one-half of Lot 14 of Pine Beach Plat, being part of Government Lot 1, Section 8, Town 18 North, R11 East, Town of Marion, Silver Lake, North, 2055 North Silver Lake Road. The applicants, please step forward. State your name for the record, please.
My name is Terrence Webb.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Webb.
Welcome.
Why
Good
don't you
evening.
tell us a little bit about what you'd like to do there tonight?
What we'd like to do here is add an addition to the roadside of our cottage, which is on North Silver Lake Road and fronts on Silver Lake. The cottage is about 750 square feet now. Our family is much larger now than it was when we bought the cottage 27 years ago. And we have never changed the footprint of the building as long as we've owned it. So the idea here is to add this remodeling project, which will enable us to create a larger kitchen, a small dining area, and another bedroom on the property. It's a one-story addition. It will have a full basement. The roof on the addition will tie into the existing roof. Right now, the existing setbacks on our property are 9.28 feet to the east and 7.23 feet to the west. Our proposed addition is actually 22 feet long on the west side and 28 feet long on the east side. The cottage is placed on our lot at an angle. So when the 22-foot side is added, it will come to within 6 feet of the west property line. The structure next door to us, our neighbor on the west, that whole structure is already placed considerably closer than 6 feet to the property line. Our current entryway to our cottage is also on the west side of this house. So the proposed addition allows us actually to remove that entryway, remove the decking that came with it, and to add a new entrance on the north side of the addition, which would be about in the middle of the property as it's angled. This improvement actually will enlarge the unbuilt space between our two structures by at least 2 feet and probably more. We also plan to reside the entire building. So when we started to think about this, we contacted the zoning staff and the land conservation folks, who I have to say were very helpful, courteous, professional, and good to work with. And they informed us of an order of mitigation that's usually attached to a variance as a condition if it's granted, if we're at or near the lake. When we investigated that, we were informed that usually that order is that there's a revegetation of property that's 35 feet from the ordinary high water mark. As you all, I know, the ordinary high water mark on Silver Lake is something of an artificial designation. And it happens that on our property, 35 feet from that ordinary high water mark is all sand. And that sand has not grown anything in 27 years. So we have some concern about the utility of that order and have a proposal for another kind of mitigation, which would include, we have a hill, as those of you that were there, I think you were all there, saw. That's a fully planted garden area, which is now almost all native plants because they took over the garden area. And it's been tended for all the years that we've been there. And we intend to keep tending the vegetation on that hill. Second, we have a storage shed that you saw at the bottom of the hill on the flat part of it, which encroaches on our neighbor's property to the east of Barb's, who's here tonight. And we intend to remove that shed and remove that encroachment entirely. This will allow us to actually do some planting where that shed used to be, and take the planting from the edge of where the hill ends and where the garden ends, all the way to the little seawall that separates us from the beach. We also can now, if we remove the west side entrance to the cottage, we can also vegetate that piece of land, which was quite difficult to do the way, because the houses were so close together and the structures were. We've already started actually planting trees down the hill towards that beach, and we would intend to keep doing that and revegetate that area, so that in effect, we hope we would have filters for the runoff on all sides of the building and down the hill. So what we really want to do is maintain the cottage look and feel on our property. We really don't want to tear the building down and build a big house there. We'd much rather keep it with the character that it has. But it would be extremely difficult for us to live there on a more permanent basis. And we're nearing retirement and looking at that as an option. It would also be difficult for us to comply with conditions that we're fairly certain will not serve their purpose. So we have an interest, along with everybody else, in protecting our lake. And we've offered to make these further plantings and to maintain the ones that are already there as a buffer and filter runoff. So we think that offer of mitigation is commensurate with the variance that's requested. And we thank you all for your time you spent at our place and your consideration of our request.
Okay, thank you very much. And now I have just a few questions for you.
Mhm.
A recent survey,
Yeah.
when was that done? Do you have any idea?
Yes.
2015, I
Does
think.
it have the date?
Yep.
June of this year.
So we know where the lot lines are, right?
We do. Yeah, they found all the iron.
I know you talked to Barb. Have you talked to the neighbor on the other side regarding this?
Yes.
Okay, and how about the town board?
I haven't talked to the town board directly, no.
What type of foundation are we putting the addition on?
A concrete poured.
Slab,
No, it's a basement.
basement?
Yeah.
Is it poured, block?
I believe it's going to be poured.
How far above the existing grade will the first floor elevation be? And how much filling and grading will need to be done, do you know?
No, I don't know.
Will the addition, the floor elevation be the same as the existing
Oh, yes,
house?
yes,
That's going to be the same.
correct,
Yeah.
correct. I just don't know the pitch of the property.
Sure.
Okay. Do we know the finished height of the addition
It'd be the same height as the
that's
But it's-
currently
as the
there?
roof that's
It's
there now.
1 story?
1 story?
1 story.
How are we gonna deal with the stormwater runoff and the potential for erosion with the side hill?
That we hope to take care of with plantings that we would do. I mean, once the deck and other things are out of the way, we might have better luck. We've tried planting things there in the past.
Step up, just state your name for the record.
Catherine Webb. I think another way that we're going to solve that is with eaves troughs that would go
Gutters.
toward the road.
That was my next question. You've got gutters and downspouts on everything else, and I'm just assuming your addition's going to have that too, right?
Okay. Are we thinking about doing any other improvements on the property?
I think we asked
Shed.
about,
A new- a
No.
different shed though, right?
Yeah, we would replace it with something
Yeah.
else.
When we talked to you, that's what you were gonna do?
Yeah, we'd replace
you're
it
going to
with
leave the
something
garage.
else. We're going to leave the
way- way it
garage
is.
the way it is.
You're gonna get rid of that trespassing shed that's on Barb's property then and get rid of that?
Yeah, much to her dismay.
Will all the other setbacks be met?
Yes.
You have a structures and about the shoreline. It appears that the ordinary high water marks set by the sanitary district in the area of a beach are somewhat in contradiction. If you were asked to consider vegetation, would you consider it above the beach area?
It's pretty much what you said. You'd restore the vegetation where the shed is and try to establish it between there and the base of the hill,
Correct,
right? Yep.
correct. But the vegetation would not go the whole width of the lot.
Right.
Essentially, really, it would be up like 10 feet on each side. The lot's 50 feet.
You submitted that picture to us?
I did.
Thank
We
you
did.
very much. It helps. There was a good picture for us to look at. See the large sand area on the beach there. Have we considered any other options on the property regarding building? To do it a different way, or?
Well, we considered a lot of different options, but
Okay.
I mean, most of them, honestly, it ends up going closer to the lake, which is not something that we wanted to do.
And right now, your existing cottage and the proposed addition is gonna meet all the road and the water setbacks.
Yes.
So
Oh, yes.
that's a non-issue.
I think in your statement, you told us about the unique property limitations. And just, could you reaffirm what the hardships are that you need a variance?
Well, we have, it's a substandard lot. It's actually quite deep, but it's narrow. It's a single-family residence zoned area, and what we want to do is create a slightly larger single-family home residence.
Have you considered what, or asked what permits you will need before you start?
We've had some discussion about that.
And if this board would approve it, when would you plan on starting the building?
In the spring,
Spring 2016?
spring 2016, especially if the ground never freezes.
That's coming.
Yeah,
Dave, you got anything?
You intend to remove the little 4x4 retaining wall that's kind of there now with some pipes in, where the sand ends and the vegetation begins? Will that be removed? It was in somewhat a state of disarray, where it was decayed. Can the vegetation blend into that?
You know,
that would be-
we didn't talk about that, so I don't know.
It's not really it's just a line of timbers.
It is.
what
Really
it
not
is, yeah.
And it's been there ever since we were there, so.
Not sentimental 4x4s by any way.
No, they're hardly that, no. Yeah, so you mean, is there a way to mitigate by doing that? Is that what
I
you're?
don't know if mitigation.
Because I don't know, I just
I
don't.
think it could blend together and not have those there any longer. And where the shed was gonna be removed, you intend to replace another one kind of when you come down the steps, correct?
Correct.
And that one will still be able, that one when, where that stump area, is it
Yes.
gonna kinda go in that spot?
Around there,
So you'll, at that point, you'll be able to, adhere to the 7.5-foot setback?
Yes.
For the side accessory structures?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
John, anything?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
Mark?
First of all, I want to commend you on your presentation. You could give lessons to people on. It was very informative. So, and I was following the survey as you were talking, and it was consistent with that. And the survey shows, as you mentioned, that porch to the west or northwest is going to be removed.
Yeah.
And that entrance is going to be eliminated, and you'll have the main entrance facing the road.
Correct.
Okay. But then, I guess my question is, how do you get, the only way you're gonna get from, are you gonna have a sidewalk around the house? Because otherwise, if you wanna get from the road to the lake,
Mhm.
you have to go through the house.
Well, there would still be space between both sides
Right.
to get to the lake. I mean, there is now.
But if there's any pattern of traffic, depending on how many people use the property, it's gonna be difficult to get vegetation established there.
on the,
on the side,
particularly on the west side,
probably, yeah.
because there's trees and stuff on the east side. Both, you know, in order to get to the water, you should get to the stairs. And the stairs are in the front of the house, and that's how most people get
Right.
to the lake.
And you're not gonna do anything with the deck or the stairs, you mentioned that to us, I think, when we were out there. You're gonna leave those alone.
Correct.
Have you, are you working with a contractor on this, or haven't you selected?
Yes.
You have, so you've had a contractor look at the concept, and
Yes.
it's sound,
Two.
okay.
One retired on us.
Well, don't hold that against.
See? See? Look what you started, yeah.
The other question I had is this gonna interfere with a sewer lateral at all?
No. Actually, the lateral, Bartels and us share a ditch where the lateral is, so
Oh,
it's
okay.
right on the property line.
Okay.
Sure, everything.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I had, thank you.
Larry, anything? No.
I have one question. We had talked about it when we were out there, or after we were there. What's in the basement? And because it's a walkout, will you be doing any living space down there, or is there some now?
There is some now. There's a bedroom in the basement, there's a bathroom in the basement, and there's like a kid's toy room thing in the basement.
So the
Washer, dryer, that kind of thing.
So the basement for the addition will be additional living space, or is it mostly
No.
utilities?
No, that is intended to be the place that holds all the stuff that's in the garage. And hopefully some of it that was in the shed. So it's not intended to be living space.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep,
Very much.
thanks. Correspondence?
We have no correspondence, but someone did register to speak.
Barb Bertel would like to speak. Speak your name for the record, please.
I'm Barbara Bartel, and I live to the east, right? I'm on the east side of them, and I don't have any problem with what they want to do. And as far as their little shed, that's not a problem either, but they're going to move it. So, but now you came up with a question about that retaining wall, but, because I think it ties all together with, because Vic took care of that. And so I don't know if they,
Does
I
it
don't know
go
if
all
you're
the way
telling them.
across the front of your garage? Or your boathouse that's down there? Maybe the picture would show.
Yeah,
I didn't think it did.
You have rock in front of yours.
I guess I'd have to look, but because at one point, I remember we had to, and it was because,
Boathouse
I mean, the
blocks,
water
you
goes
can't
up
see.
and it goes down, and at one point, that was the only thing we could do was have that retaining wall. I know it goes across like to the next, property to the west of us, because, Vic did that all at the same time, and then after that, we put that stone wall up, because there again, that was the only thing you could do was put the, what do they call it, riprap, or,
Riprap,
so,
yeah.
and there again, we have all those rocks there, and the wind just blows like crazy, and, the sand covers them up, and, but anyway, I guess I don't know, I just thought maybe I'm wrong about that, but I thought that retaining wall went across.
Picture doesn't reflect it well. It looks like it ends at some rocks by the corner of your garage.
But like, I still have the retaining wall, that's why I'm thinking it went in front of our boathouse too, but I can't remember, I'd have to check it out.
Well, I certainly don't want to do anything to jeopardize the erosion on your property because of it, but it's barely a retaining wall in the fact it's about 3.5 inches tall. That's really all it is. I mean,
Well, I think that's because
you're
the sand.
this far away from feathering the
It
ground
used to
in.
be like about that high, but the sand keeps blowing up that way, and,
I don't think it would be impossible for it to go away in feather and vegetation or more dirt, and
I see what you mean.
it becomes slow. I'm not asking for the gutter to remain, for lack of a better term, where it's removed, but it's usually with the little height, and if it was very high at one time and that much sand is
And it wasn't.
mysteriously blown in.
Really?
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Staff comments.
Make sure I'm on the right one. So we're asking for a relaxation of a dimensional standard. The same reasons would apply. It's the owner's responsibility. When the board visited the property, they noted that the boathouse currently encroaches on the neighbor's lot, that the lot is somewhat vegetated, but that it is landward of the beach and the ordinary high water mark, and that there are small retaining walls along the beach that are not necessary for erosion control. And that's it for my comments.
Any rebuttal? Okay. Thank you. We will go to our third request. When Larry's ready here. You sit. Jennifer M. Durkin, Oak Park, Illinois, has made application for a variance in accordance with Section 58-235, Sub 5 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to construct a 14-foot by 34-foot, one-story addition to an existing non-conforming single-family dwelling, non-conforming due to road setback. Existing 14 by 28 portion of dwelling to be raised, to remove and repitch roof over entire dwelling, make interior alterations to walls, doors, and windows, and to construct a 6-foot by 51-foot covered porch and a 10-foot by 36-foot open deck in RS-20 residential single-family zone within the shoreland area. Location, approximate 0.54 acre parcel of land known as Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map Number 5518, being part of Government Lot 1, Section 2, Township 19 North, R11 East, Town of Mount Morris, West 5639, County Road H. Will the representative please come forward? Evening.
Good evening.
State your name, please, for the record.
John Wadlington. I'm the husband of Jennifer Durkin, and she sent me here, so
Okay.
you get me tonight.
Name, please.
I'm sorry?
You spell your last name, please?
Yeah, Wadlington.
Please tell us a little bit what
Okay.
you'd like to do.
Yeah, the project is basically a complete remodel of the house. The description's a little, I think, a little off in that the back of the house. So the only addition that we're really putting on is about a 6-foot addition to the pad, but we're completely redoing the back half. This house has had multiple additions over the years. So the house, the first thing I'd like to tell you about the house is it was the original house for what was called Hills Lake Camp, which was the whole north side of Big Hills Lake. This was the house where you came to check in, and there were modern cabins that you would rent, or you would go to Hills Campground. This was actually the owner's house. It was the Young's house. There was also on this property a garage that was about, I'm going to say about 15 feet from the roadway. I think you all, I left a copy of the most recent survey. We removed that because it was too close to the road, and when we purchased it, we had a renter in there, and in order to get out of the garage, you had to back out onto County Road H, which was really, in our opinion, an unsafe situation. So we had the garage removed. In addition, we had another outbuilding removed that was closer to the lot line than it was supposed to be. This was actually the building where you'd go buy camp goods and other things like that on the property that was there. Some other historic value of the house. The house was owned by the Youngs, which became Young's Radiator Company, which was out of Kenosha, Wisconsin, which is one of the most successful companies in the state of Wisconsin. It's what Young's Lane is named after also. We bought it from, we believe, a relative of the original Youngs that owned it before. So we do believe there's some historic value in it, and we're trying to save the majority of the house. In fact, 90% of the interior walls we're saving, and we're saving almost all the exterior walls except for that back half of the addition that was on it. The reason and some of the hardship reasons when we got into it, we bought it, actually there was a renter in it, Andrea Reimer. The house had been foreclosed upon. It had several bad renters in it. The house had a backed up sewer. She had 2 young kids and she was pregnant, and she didn't know what to do because the house was going into foreclosure. She needed a place to stay. We ended up, my wife's a lawyer for a bank. She got a hold of the bank. We purchased the house out of foreclosure. Andrea stayed there for a few years. We noticed that there was, she brought up some safety issues with the house, and that's really why we want to redo this house, because it has a lot of safety issues with the wiring, the plumbing, and other things with it. So from a safety issue, we removed the garage, we removed the outbuildings. It also has a non-conforming well on the property. It has an old pit well, which we'll be replacing with a modern well. We're going to move the front door further away from the county highway from a safety issue, and there'll be a turnaround space for the drive coming in, so you can drive in, turn around, and pull straight out onto the county road. So yeah, I guess from a hardship standpoint, it's the house was put there. That's where the foundation is. We're trying to just do a complete remodel where the house is. We've spoken to many of the neighbors. Many of the neighbors would love to see the house redone because it does have historic value, and some of the neighbors have been there for a very long time and know the house from how it used to be in a really nice condition. And I guess that's pretty much everything I have.
Any idea how old it is?
The original part of the house is over 90 years old. We don't know exactly the age of it. It's on a shallow foundation in the center portion, and then the outer portions are on a full frost wall.
Okay.
We actually have some wood from, in the old days, from the old crates of Young's radiator. So when you will come into this, if we get the approval, you'll see the old wood with the Young's radiator still stamped on the old wood that is in the house currently.
Found some in there, huh?
We did, yeah.
All right, thank you. First, I'm going to ask you a few questions here. The survey,
Yes, the
Good
most
one.
recent survey which I left was from
2006.
thank you.
so we know where the lot lines are,
Yes, sir.
and the neighbors are happy about this. What about the town? Have you talked to them at all?
I did, and he had no problems with it at all. I called the county highway commissioner because I actually thought since it's a highway setback, he would be the most likely to talk to, and he says they don't get involved in those things and would not express an opinion in either way or get involved.
Okay. The foundation for the addition will be, what kind of, will that be?
It will actually be on, it's a small actual addition. It'll be on slab, the same as the back slab.
So you're going to use the current basement that's there now?
Correct.
Now, what about the existing grade and the first floor elevation? What can you tell us about that?
The first floor elevation will all be staying the same. The grade will be changing slightly by where the driveway is, only to get, currently from the road down, it runs to the southeast corner, and we've seen a little bit of water get into the basement there. When we change the grade, the water will continue to flow in the path that it normally flows, which is towards the lake, but it's sort of dammed by Young's Lane itself, and it's retained into the property itself.
About the height of the new addition? What's going to be the finished height?
It will be the same as the existing height that's in there now. Currently, there's like 2 steps down to it, so it'll be brought to the same height.
What about runoff?
Heights will now match.
All the floor mat, yeah.
So the back addition of the lakeside drops, correct?
Correct.
How are we going to deal with stormwater runoff?
It will have gutters on it, and again, the runoff feeds and stays onto the property itself. It doesn't leave the property. It can't get to the lake because it's blocked by Young's Lane itself.
The lot's relatively flat.
The lot is relatively flat, right, and the lane, Young's Lane, is actually a little bit higher than the lot itself.
Besides the improvements you've told us about, are you thinking of anything else? Any other plans?
Your survey shows the 2 structures that you already removed. one closest to the road, I'm assuming that was a garage?
Correct.
And then you're gonna be removing the pump house because you're putting a new well in.
Correct.
With removal, are you gonna need another garage? Are you gonna,
We are not. It's mainly going to be a summer residence. The garage that's shown to the back, that's a 5-car garage that we own there. So there's no need for an addition. We have enough garage.
Will all other setbacks be met?
Yes.
The driveway, when it comes into the property, is that all on your property?
Yes.
that driveway is off of County Highway H?
Correct.
One where the commode was placed.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people pick up free stuff, and I guess that's one that's not popular. It's gone now that I'm back up here, so, yes.
So that's where you intend to add the turnaround in that
Turnaround,
area?
yeah.
Yes, you pull back in where that is. I just want to reshape it slightly, because right now it all pitches right at the house. And we want it to pitch a little bit, make a little bit of a trough in there away from the house.
You're gonna make room to park and turn around there off the county highway?
Yeah, the turnaround will kind of be where, if, on that survey where the outbuilding will be, it'll be right into that area there by the pine trees and by where that shed was. That's part of why we removed that there too, so there was room to pull in, turn around, and go back out straight.
Are we adding extra bedrooms that the septic system will be big enough?
No. We're actually, I believe the house was set up, and that's what the septic was for, was 2-bedroom. When we took over the house, it was 3-bedroom. So it's going back to 2-bedroom.
And what about the condition of the septic system?
It was replaced in, you know, I thought about, it's not that old. It was replaced in, I believe, 2008.
You looked it up
We
when we
looked it
were
up
out
when we
there.
were
I can't
there.
remember.
I was just trying to get it in the record.
Yeah, okay.
I did look it up. It's in here somewhere.
They told me in your office when I was looking at permits, but
Oh, you got it there?
Permit is from 2002.
Been maintained?
Yep.
The other structures on the parcel are the old pump house, and that's gonna be removed?
correct.
Anything else on there?
Everything else has been removed,
You
nothing
took,
else.
you took a deck off already?
Correct.
Have we considered any other options?
Well, I don't have a lot of other options because the foundation is where the foundation is. We tried to take that in consideration when we made the plans, that we didn't do anything further towards the county highway.
What are the hardships and unique property limitations which would support this application?
The main hardship is that the house is on a foundation and it sits where it sits, and it's within all the other required setbacks except for that house, or except for the setback from the county highway. And my guess is when that house was originally built, there wasn't a setback of that kind.
That wasn't a road.
It wasn't probably.
Might have been a buggy trail, right? The house is 57 feet from the right-of-way?
Correct.
It should be 75.
75.
So we're 18 feet off,
Correct.
but it's been there forever. Have you considered, looked into what permits you'll need yet?
I have.
Have you had a contractor look at the property?
I've had engineers and contractor, because the first was to make sure that the foundation and the structure was structurally sound. We brought an engineer who specializes in old buildings from Fort Atkinson up to look at it. And we've been working with contractors, yes.
what the hole along the foundation was? They were looking to see this,
Correct.
the foundation.
Yep. There was a lot of exploratory marks into the whole building, if you saw, yeah. Inside, you would see the same thing.
We saw.
Well, the door was
Open.
open, so we kind of peeked inside
Okay,
a little
yeah.
bit.
The basement, Dave went to the basement. He thought it was pretty good.
Looks like it was underpinned at one time, and they put another wall inside the wall to support it.
Yeah, that's what, if you look at the center of the house was originally on what they call a shallow foundation, the 2-foot foundation, and then when they did the addition, built the full frost wall, then they dug out and put the beams in and supported it, and then put that new block wall on the
Pretty
inside.
flat and sound, and
Right.
porch was as a dirt area. I don't know if they just had a root cellar in there at one time.
Yeah,
That could have been, but
they had a canning in that area. So it was all set up for canning and interior walls in there, and so that's why they had the vents on both sides from there, so they could keep it cool for canning.
so I hope you don't mind we took a peek inside, but
Yeah,
my,
I've had a lot of contractors and engineers coming and going on the planning, so.
because
yeah.
my opinion changed as a result of that. If we wouldn't have seen that, when you looked at the outside where you just dug on, where you could see there was just a little slushed-in footing, I would have thought, it's not worth saving if that's all it's floating around on. But
Yeah.
seeing the basement, that it was a relatively new furnace, and there's
Right.
floor joists look straight and true yet. There was no decay. It was quite dry.
The floors are actually fairly flat, too, that,
It appeared to be.
yeah.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
If this would be approved, when would you start the project?
We're ready to start now if we can still get the last slab in with frost and stuff, so it's all depending on,
ASAP.
correct.
Okay. Hey, Dave, anything? John? Mark?
I guess the only thing I would have to say, it's not a question, just a comment, is it was one of those applications when you first drove in, my first impression was, why don't you just tear down and start again? But then the more we looked at it, we kind of came to the same conclusion as you, and structurally, there's a lot of things going for that building. Plus, you mentioned the historical value as well, so.
Yeah, if you go in it too, it's got all quarter sawn floors in it that we're saving, and in fact, the addition, I bought quarter sawn flooring from North Dakota that'll be put in that is of the same year and era of the house itself, so it will all be matching. And all the we have to take the fireplace down because it's a problem, but all the granite's going to be reused and put into the fireplace and the workings of the fireplace.
What about that chimney on the other side? What are you gonna do with that?
That's just going in the garbage. So that was the old vent for the furnace and water heater, so.
Larry, anything?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Where did you find trees in North Dakota to get quarters?
Came out of an old schoolhouse that a guy saved in Milwaukee, and he was on Craigslist, and I sanded one, I dropped it on the floor, and you virtually can't see it. It looks identical.
Wow.
Oh, good for
Okay,
you.
correspondence?
We have no correspondence, but we have one person registered to speak.
Barbara Milky? You don't have to speak. No, you don't, oh, you wanna say something? Go ahead.
Okay. John is my neighbor. There's one property between us. He and Jennifer, I hope you honor their requests. They are the nicest neighbors. They are so neat. Everything is done right around their new home, only they need more flowers. And it is a very special home. You step down a step or two to see the beautiful room where that fireplace is. If I was buying that home, I would have bought it just because of the fireplace. You're not taking that down, are you? Redone. Okay. So I just want you to know anything he does and Jennifer will be done perfect to your approval.
Thank you.
Thank you for hearing me out.
Thanks for coming. Anything else?
Nope.
Staff comments?
So once again, we have a request to relax a dimensional standard, and it's the county highway setback. The applicant applicant is responsible to demonstrate why the variance should be granted based on that the code is unnecessarily burdensome, that there are unique limitations on the property, and that if the variance is granted, no harm will be done to the public interest or the zoning code. When the board visited the property, they noted that the pump house does not appear to meet setbacks, but the application indicates it will be removed and a new well installed. They also noted that the speed limit in this area is 45 miles per hour. Even though it's a county road, it is a reduced speed limit, and that the vegetation in the area restricts visibility more than the existing home does. And that's it for comments.
Any rebuttal? Good, thank you. Set?
Yep.
Okay, we had the public hearing on the applications, and we'll go into our business meeting and a roll call. Everybody's here?
Everybody's recorded.
Everybody's recorded? I need an approval of the agenda.
I'll make that motion unless there's any additions. No? Make a motion to approve the agenda as mailed.
Schumacher on the approval, second.